This is from my website, Learning Life from Scratch, and today I'm making a frittata. Frittata is a type of Italian baked egg dish. It's kind of like a quiche without a crust, or sometimes people call it an Italian omelet. Basically what you do is you take a bowl of eggs and you whip them lightly, and then you saute them in a pan with some vegetables, meat, herbs, cheeses, kind of whatever you want, whatever you have around, and then you finish it in the oven. It's really simple. It's great for breakfast, it's great for brunch, and it's really good for dinner. And you can serve it hot, you can serve it cold. It's just a really awesome dish that everyone should know how to make, and so I'm going to show you how. I'm going to be using some sauteed mushrooms with bacon and onions, and some fresh tarragon, a little bit of Parmesan cheese. But you can really kind of put anything you want into it, and hopefully I can explain that in a way that makes sense to you. So I have a little 10-inch non-stick skillet right here. And I'm going to turn it on to about a medium heat. And I have my oven preheated to about 375 degrees because I'm going to finish the eggs in there. I have a little bowl here. It's got about 10 eggs in it. That should be enough to fill this guy. And if you want to make a smaller one, you have a little 6-inch pan. You can adjust it however you want, really. You can even make bigger ones. So, take your eggs and you put a decent little amount of salt in it. I think a good gauge for me has always been like a pinch of salt for every yolk. And that way you kind of get a pretty even distribution of enough of the salt. And then a little black pepper. And then if you're using herbs, soft herbs like tarragon, which I have here, which has kind of a licoricey flavor, or parsley or basil, those can be kind of whipped into the eggs. But if you're using rosemary, sage, thyme, those usually need to be cooked beforehand because they can have kind of a woody texture. So, give this guy a little mix up. Oh, I almost forgot. Usually when I make eggs like this, I add a little bit of cream to them. You add cream, half and half, milk. A lot of people even add water, like when you're making scrambled eggs, so I'll make them a little more fluffy. So, you want to mix them until they're combined, but not over mix them because eggs are kind of delicate, and if you beat the crap out of them, then they can turn a little more tough. So I got my pan here warming up. I got my butter. Back. I got my knife. And I'm going to put a decent, probably like a tablespoon or so of butter in this pan and let it melt down. I always cook eggs with butter. It's something my dad taught me. A lot of people will use olive oil in a frittata because it's Italian, but the French really knew what they were doing when they put eggs and butter together. So I recommend butter. Never ever use margarine, it's horrible, and whatever everyone tells you about butter making you fat, it's a complete lie. Tell. I eat butter every day, and I can't gain a pound. Sorry. So, once the butter melts and you've got like a nice little coating in there to get up the sides, that's going to help it not stick. That's your main thing. And then it's also going to add a little bit of the flavor in there. And you don't want the pan to get so hot that the butter browns. You want to avoid that. Alright, so I'm going to take my little frittata eggs, and you can dump your vegetables or meats or whatever in there first. But I usually like to put a little layer of egg down and then dump my business in there. There we go. And then cover that up with the rest of the egg. And swish it around. And that pretty well sums it up. No. So you don't want to rush eggs, because again, they'll turn brown and they'll turn a little hard, and you want them to be nice and soft and kind of delicate because eggs are awesome, and there's no point in overcooking an egg. So you give it a minute or two, and you'll start to see it'll start to bubble a little bit on the sides and start to set up, and all you can really do is wait. So I'm going to wait and fast forward. And we're back about 30 seconds later. So let's see if I can show this to you. It starts to set up around the edges and it bubbles a little bit. And you can see that it's starting to move in the pan, so that's how you know the eggs have kind of started to set up. I'll usually go around the edges and kind of pick them up and let some of the soft, runny eggs go down into there. And that'll help cook that without overcooking the bottom. So you kind of displace the stuff that's already cooked with some of the stuff that hasn't yet. And let's do that once around, just to to get it set up. And then if you're using any cheese, any kind of cheeses work. Soft cheeses, hard cheeses, you can use dollops of goat cheese or whatever. Now's a good time to kind of just get that on there. If I was using like ricotta or goat cheese, I would put a bunch of little dollops in there. And now that it's kind of set up, as you can see, it's got all the business on it, and you just slide it in the oven. And that's it. And you wait about 5 minutes, and if it's cooking a little too much around the outsides but not on the top, you can stick it under the broiler for 30 seconds and that'll set it up. So we're gonna wait about 5 minutes. I'm just gonna go down to the cellar. And back. And let's check on the frittata. Alright. And it's perfect. Check it out. Doesn't it look delicious? Basically, you know it's done once the middle is set up. And this is nice and loose, so I can just slide this off right onto a little plate or a serving, platter, a cutting board or whatever. If it does stick, let it sit in the pan for 2 or 3 minutes. That'll, it'll contract a little bit and it'll be a little easier to get out. And you can just use a rubber spatula to squish it out. But if you use a non-stick pan and you use plenty of butter, you should have pretty good success rate. So, just take this guy, I'm gonna grab a plate. The back of the plate. And slide them on here. You can finish it with a little more of your fresh herbs. A little extra cheese, never hurt anybody. Fresh black pepper. And that's it. So, voila. And I guess the point I want to make is that, I added sauteed mushrooms and onions and bacon. You can add potatoes or broccoli or meats, cheeses, really anything you want. It's important if it needs to get cooked that you cook it ahead of time. Fresh herbs don't need to be cooked, but obviously potatoes, meats, sausages, things like that need to be cooked ahead of time. Onions, you don't want hard, raw onions in there. But just do whatever you want. You can, the basic is there, and you can put anything you want into it. And you can make this any day of the week with whatever you have in your refrigerator. And you can serve it for dinner with a little salad and a glass of wine, or you can have it when you have some people over for brunch. And leftovers can be packed up and taken as a snack or as lunch for you, So it's wonderful and it's easy, and you should definitely make frittatas because they're great. And then you should tell me that you made frittatas and they came out awesome. All right, everyone enjoy. Thank you very much. I'm Alex, and this is from my website, learninglifefromscratch.com.